All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. It is that time of the week, folks. My key games for what is going to be a very interesting weekend in college football. Why? Because there are a slew of ranked teams facing each other. On top of that, a lot of games as it's separation time in these conference races, and as things are really beginning to heat up. And I want to get things started tomorrow night in the ACC as you have Louisville traveling to take on second-ranked Miami. Now, the Canes come into this contest favored big, by nearly 2 touchdowns, 13 and a half points to be exact. And Louisville is definitely looking to derail the chances, if you will, of Miami as far as winning the ACC while enhancing their own battle. But nonetheless, Louisville has now had a week to digest the loss to Virginia. And I think for the Cardinals to come back strong in this one, they're going to need a big game on the road from quarterback Miller Moss. Running back Isaac Brown, what is he going to bring to the table, as is wide receiver Chris Bell. Clay Lubin and his ability to rush the passer. Can he find a way to disrupt this Miami offense? But make no mistake about it, the Canes can run the football well with the likes of Mark Fletcher, take some stress off of quarterback Carson Beck, and then you've got wide receiver Malachi Tony. And then this Miami defense with Bryce Fitzgerald in that secondary, as well as Akeem Messador rushing the passer. I like Miami to double up Louisville tomorrow night, 34-17. Now, another game tomorrow night is you got 25th ranked Nebraska traveling to take on Minnesota. And the Cornhuskers will head to Minneapolis, favored by 7.5 points. And this is a big game right here, as far as I'm concerned. Why? Because there's a glut of one-loss teams right now within the Big Ten, and these are two of them right here. You got quarterback Dylan Raiola for Nebraska. What is he going to do in this contest? You've got running back Emmett Johnson as well as wide receiver Isaiah Frazier. I like this Nebraska defense with their linebackers with Javin Wright as well as Dason McCullough. Minnesota quarterback Drake Lindsey. Can he find a way to navigate this Nebraska defense? We've got to wait and see. Wide receiver Lemeke Brockington, he could put some stress on this Cornhuskers secondary. And then I like this Golden Gophers defense with linebacker Anthony Smith as well as linebacker Devin Williams. But when it's all said and done, Nebraska is favored by 7.5. I like them by a touchdown in this one, 27-20. Now, moving ahead to Saturday, there's like 3 games in the SEC, okay, with ranked opponents going at it. And this is one of them right here. You've got 10th ranked LSU traveling to take on 17th ranked Vanderbilt. And the Commodores come into this game favored by 2.5 points at home over the Bayou Bengals. Two teams that already have a loss within the SEC, and of course, two teams that cannot afford to have a second loss in this very tough division. So you look at this LSU defense, and so far, only Ole Miss has scored more than 10 points on them. So for linebacker Harold Perkins and safety Deshaun Spears and company, can they find a way to put the clamps on quarterback Diego Pavea? We got to wait and see. I think another key for LSU in this game is going to be quarterback Garrett Nussmeier. He's been turning the football over. That's not going to fly on the road, and it's not going to fly against this Vanderbilt team. For Vandy, we talked about Diego Pavaya. You also have running back Cedric Alexander as well as tight end Eli Stowers on this offense. And then a guy like Miles Capers and his ability to get to the quarterback. I talked about Garrett Nussmeier as far as his turnover prone issues so far this season. A guy like Miles Capers can really put the stress on him there. LSU is going to have to fight scrap and claw on this one because Vanderbilt's a good team. But when it's all said and done, I do like the Bayou Bengals on the road, 23-20. Now in the ACC, you've got 12th ranked Georgia Tech traveling to take on Duke, and the Blue Devils are favored by 1.5 point or a point and a half at home. And you've got 5 teams within the ACC that are still undefeated in conference play, and this is two of them right here. When you think about Georgia Tech, you think about their offense, and of course, quarterback Haynes King, as well as running backs Malachi Hosley and Jamal Haynes. Now, for Duke, they enter this contest on a three-game winning streak for Manny Diaz. Quarterback Darian Mensah has been playing solid. I like the ability of running back Nate Shepard. And then defensively, I like Vincent Anthony Jr. for the Blue Devils. It's going to be a fun game here. And I truly do feel the last team to possess the football will win. I like the Yellow Jackets on the road, 34-31. Now, in the Big Ten on Saturday, this is a contest, in my opinion. I mean, we've seen them, face each other in non-conference play games before, but nonetheless, when I think about Washington, Michigan, I think about them in the Rose Bowl. But that's neither here nor there. But nonetheless, you've got the Huskies traveling to Ann Arbor to take on the Wolverines, and this is a big opportunity for UW to go out there and prove themselves. They have a one loss to their credit. They fell to Ohio State a couple of weeks ago, and then both of these teams, for what it's worth, are they're a part of that one loss pack in the Big Ten Conference. Quarterback Demond Williams Jr. for the Huskies. What is he going to do against this Wink Martindale defense? You've got running back Jonah Coleman and wide receiver Denzel Boston. I don't think a lot of people nationally are talking about him enough. I like what Washington has on defense as well, with linebacker Devin Bryant as well as safety Alex McLaughlin. For Michigan, they got to try to find a way to put that loss to USC on Saturday night behind them. They've got to get back to the basics, which is running the football with Justice Haynes, which will open things up for quarterback Bryce Underwood. I really love this Michigan defense on the Wink Martindale, and they gave up 31 points to a very good USC offense last week. They've got to find a way to get back on track against Washington, which is going to be easier said than done. Michigan comes into this game favored by 4.5. I like them by 4, 24-20. Now in the Big 12, you've got Arizona traveling to take on Houston. And as far as I'm concerned, this has a potential to be one of the more interesting games of the weekend. I like Arizona quarterback Noah Fafita. I like wide receiver Javin Watley. Linebacker Riley Wilson, what is he going to do against this Houston offense led by quarterback Connor Wegman? We've got to wait and see. Also, keep an eye out for Houston linebacker Corey Platt Jr. in this one. Arizona comes into this one favored by 1.5. I like the Wildcats in a close one, 30-27. Now, back in the SEC, you've got 14th ranked Oklahoma traveling to take on South Carolina. The Sooners come into this contest favored by 5.5 points, and they've got to try to find a way to put that tough loss to Texas behind them last week. John Mateer, 6 interceptions so far in the season, 3 last week against Texas, and now you've got to go up against the South Carolina defense, which you never know what you're going to get from the Gamecocks. I'm going to put part of the onus in this one on the Oklahoma defense with the likes of R. Mason Thomas. Will he be able to get to quarterback Lenoris Sellers? Because aside from being very elusive in the pocket, he's a big, strong guy, okay? So this Oklahoma defense, this front seven is really going to have their hands full. Wide receiver Vendrevius Jacobs can be an impact player for the Gamecocks in this one. And then this South Carolina defense with Gerald Kilgore in the secondary, as well as edge rusher Dylan Stewart. Oklahoma comes into this game favored by 5.5. It's going to be a close one throughout, but I like the Sooners to escape Columbia with the 27-24 win. Now, you've got 5th-ranked Ole Miss traveling to Athens to take on 9th-ranked Georgia, as this is a battle of 2 of the heavyweights in the SEC. This Ole Miss offense is like just poetry in motion, if you will, with Trinidad Chambliss at quarterback. I like wide receiver Harrison Wallace, the third. He's got to try to keep this Georgia secondary honest. And then, of course, you've got tight end Daquan Wright. For Gunnar Stockton and this Georgia offense, will they find, some chunk plays against this Ole Miss defense. We've got to wait and see. Nonetheless, when you think about Georgia, you think about their running game, so keep an eye out for running back Chauncey Bowens, and then the passing game with the likes of wide receiver Kobe Young. And then it wouldn't be a Kirby Smart Georgia team if we're not talking about their defense. Ellis Robinson, the fourth in the secondary, as well as inside linebacker Chris Cole. You could make a very compelling case and say, hey, the SEC might be the hardest league to run the table in throughout the season. Ole Miss is undefeated, but I don't think they leave Athens that way on Saturday. I like Georgia at home, 30-20. Now back in the ACC, you've got SMU traveling to Clemson in a rematch of last year's ACC championship game, which was a thriller. Now, the Tigers come into this contest favored by 5.5 points at home. They've won their last two contests courtesy of the blowout. What are they going to do here against a good SMU team? Quarterback Cade Klubnik has thrown an interception in all but one game for Clemson so far this season. That has to change. Wide receivers Bryant Wesco and TJ Moore going up against this SMU secondary, which includes safety Ahmad Moses. Now, defensive end Will Helt for Clemson. Can he find a way to get to SMU quarterback Kevin Jennings in this one? We've got to wait and see. But aside from Kevin Jennings for this Mustangs offense, you've got wide receiver Romello Brinson to keep an eye out for. And then this SMU defense can get after you as well with the likes of defensive end Cameron Robertson, as well as Ahmed Moses, like I said before. This is going to be a very interesting game. I look at this one, and both of these teams are trying to hang around in that ACC championship picture, but I like Clemson at home, 27-23. Now, in the Mountain West, you've got UNLV traveling to take on Boise State. And for the Broncos, will their domination of the Rebels continue? The Broncos have not lost to the Rebels since they joined the Mountain West, which included beating UNLV twice last year, including in the Mountain West championship game. So you look at this team for Dan Mullen, and he brings a talented team, or he's going to bring a talented team to the Smurf turf in this one. You've got quarterback Anthony Calandria. You've got running back Jaden Thomas, one of the better running backs in the Mountain West as far as I'm concerned. And then I like wide receiver Jaden Bradley as well. Defensively for the Rebels, keep an eye out for inside linebacker Marcel McDuffie as well as Amaris Brown in the secondary. Maddox Matson at quarterback for Boise. He's got to put that Notre Dame game behind him. He was intercepted 4 times. And I think for the Broncos, they want to try to get back to the basics, especially running the football with Dylan Riley, which will open things up for a guy like Chris Marshall in the passing game. Braxton Feely on that defensive line. Can he find a way to help slow down that UNLV offense? And then you got to keep an eye out for safety Ty Benefield in the back. Like I said before, Dan Mullen is bringing a very talented team to Boise in this one. But at the end of the day, I think the Broncos' domination over UNLV continues. And I like Boise State 34-27. Now, back in the Big 12, we've got 7th-ranked Texas Tech traveling to take on Arizona State. And this Texas Tech team, they are very dangerous. I think this contest right here is going to come down to which quarterback is healthy and which quarterback is able to play to the best of his abilities. Baron Morton has been dealing with injuries for Texas Tech, and you could say the same thing about Sam Levitt for Arizona State. But nonetheless, you look at this Texas Tech defense, which includes the likes of linebackers Jacob Rodriguez and David Bailey. On the flip side for Arizona State, you've got to keep an eye out for wide receiver Jordan Tyson. I think he's going to be a first rounder in next spring's NFL draft. That's how talented he is. The Red Raiders come into this game favored by 7.5, but I like them by 10, 37-27. And of course, one of the big ones in the SEC is you have 11th-ranked Tennessee traveling to take on 6th-ranked Alabama. And of course, it wouldn't be the third Saturday in October without these two long-storied rivals facing off. So for Tennessee, they're looking to make it 2 wins in a row over Alabama, but they have not beaten the Crimson Tide in Tuscaloosa since 2003. The onus is going to be on Joey Aguilar and this offense. Can they get to this Crimson Tide defense? You look at the Volunteers. They've had 26 sacks so far this season. Can they put some pressure on Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson, who has been calm, cool, and collected back there in that pocket. And speaking of Alabama, they have looked like a different team following the loss to begin the season to Florida State. I've talked about the play about Ty Simpson, and then, of course, these receivers, Jeremy Bernard and Ryan Williams. Also, keep an eye out for Bray Hubbard in that secondary. I think Tennessee brings their A game Saturday night to go out there and knock off Alabama. However, when you got to knock off Alabama in their place in a night game, you've got to bring your A+ game. Thus, I like the Crimson Tide to hold serve at home 30-24. Now, another battle of ranked teams is you have 20th ranked USC traveling to the Midwest to take on 13th ranked Notre Dame. And hopefully, this is not the end of one of college football's most storied rivalries. Now, for the men of Troy, their last trip to the Midwest was not good as they fell on a walk-off field goal a couple of Saturdays ago, courtesy of the Illini. This time around, you've still got quarterback Jaden Maava, excuse me, for USC, as well as running back Wayman Jordan, and then wide receiver Makai Lemon. He just goes out there and makes plays. This SC defense, which includes defensive end Braylon Shelby, as well as safety Bishop Fitzgerald. Can they find a way to slow down the youngster at quarterback for Notre Dame and CJ Carr? But Notre Dame is getting back to the basics and on offense, and I think it starts with their run game with Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. I like tight end Eli Raridan as well as wide receiver Jordan Faison. And then this Notre Dame secondary, which includes the likes of a Leonard Moore. The Irish come in favored by 9.5, which I think is disrespectful to USC. I think Notre Dame wins, but they're going to have to work for it 34-27. And finally, finishing it off in the Big 12, there's the Holy Wars. I'm talking about 23rd ranked Utah traveling to take on 15th ranked BYU. And as far as I'm concerned, this game is not getting enough attention nationally. You've got a one-loss Utah team, and then you have an undefeated BYU squad, and this is going to be the first time since 2009 that both of these teams are ranked when they square off. When you think about Utah, it's all about being physical at the line of scrimmage so they can get their run game going with running back Wayshawn Parker, as well as quarterback Devin Dampier. Defensive end John Henry Daly is going to make a lot of money soon in the National Football League for his ability to rush the passer. Can he find a way to get to Bear Bachmeier in this game? But BYU running back LJ Martin is a load, and this Utah defense is going to have to pack a lunch. And speaking of defense, I love what the Cougars have on their defense with linebacker Jack Kelly, as well as cornerback Evan Johnson. This is going to be a very physical game, buckling up those chin straps. But I like BYU to hold serve at home in this one, 34-24. So, folks, those are my key games for this weekend in the world of college football. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw, you know what to do in this podcast. Just hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. And like I always say, it's greatly appreciated. Also, if you are on the X, formerly known as Twitter, you can check me out anytime at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you give me that follow, I will do the same in return. And it also goes for Instagram, where you could check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. Also, if you are on the X, formerly, pardon me, I said that, please forgive me right there. But if you're on Facebook, be sure to check me out at the Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. But until the next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.